I didn't want to say that we're using any props because I wasn't sure if anybody would have any. So if you have some and you want them, you can bring them close by. The only thing that I'm going to require is that you find some kind of a wall space, even if it's like a cabinet. I might use this cabinet over here on my right. But if you have any sort of smaller wall space that's about 2 feet wide. Okay. Anybody have any injuries or anything that I should be aware of that I not already know of?
Sometimes I have some trouble balancing on my right wrist, but usually I just like fold up the mat a bunch of times, and that seems to be enough support.
Okay.
But
your dog in the background. Very cute.
Yeah, he's gonna be all over the place.
Yeah, that's okay. We've got another one over. Carrie's got one. All right. Okay. I'll be aware of that if you're using any of that. Anybody else before we unmute completely? Okay. All right. So let's start on our mat. Hopefully you can hear me, and if you can't, maybe Melissa, you can tell me. Let's have a seat. And I like to start cross-legged, but you can start in any seated position that feels most comfortable to you. And then you can turn your palms down for the beginning of class, just to create some warmth into your knees or your thighs, wherever they land. And then if you're comfortable doing so, close your eyes. And if you're not comfortable closing your eyes, you can bring your gaze somewhere forward or even down. And then I suggest you just start to blink your eyes very, very slowly until they find a position that's just right. Sometimes that's a little more closed or a little more open. And we'll start with just 10 deep breaths. So notice what you're coming to the room with for the next 10 breaths. And as you continue to breathe, see if you can start to allow your inhale to expand your lungs just a bit more. Let your rib cages start to open. Might even feel the muscles in between the rib cages start to expand, your intercostal muscles. And as you breathe in just a little bit deeper each time, and your rib cages start to expand, and you might even feel your chest lift or your belly start to fill, allow yourself to feel space. Space in between whatever has been annoying you or creating tension in your life, or maybe making you very excited, or anything that's creating some conflict for you. It doesn't mean that it's going away. It just means you're creating a little bit of space in between you and it. And then keeping that space as you breathe in, let your exhale sink you a little bit deeper into the support of your sit bones. You might even want to lean slightly back. And it's not just your shoulders, but the entirety of your body just settling into your sit bones. So that every time you exhale, you can feel weight down into your hips. And this weight is sinking you into the support of the earth. And then take this opportunity to set an intention for today's class and workshop, that as we work through our hips, know and understand that we might also be working through some conflict or tension. It might be in our body or our mind or our heart. And notice if it comes up, we just come back to breathing in space and breathing out into the support of the earth below us. When you're ready, you can start to blink your eyes open and taking your fingertips out towards your knees and keeping that intention in your mind. We're going to start to make some circles, and think about the circles coming from your lower hip. So we're just going to make some very small circles to the right and then to the left and back. Again, very slow circles just into the hips, as though you could move your hips without your legs moving. And then reverse the circles the opposite direction. It's a very small movement. Probably not going to feel too much happening, except that your legs might be, vibrating a little bit or rotating a little to the right and back again. And then we'll come back to center. Bring your hands to the bottom of your rib cages, as though they were cradling just the very bottom ones, and see if you can move from there up. So we're going to rotate upward through the rib cages, making those circles again one direction. It's okay if you go one direction, because we're going to go the other one in a little bit. Again, we're trying to keep the hips where they are, and we're just rotating from the rib cages. Good. And then reverse the circles the opposite direction. Good, and back to center. Now bring your fingertips to your shoulders. We're going to start to bring some very small little circles to the ends of our elbows. And then reverse the circles the opposite direction. Good, and then going back to the first direction, see if you can make those circles as big and as wide as you can. Getting the full rotation of your shoulders as best as you can. Hopefully you can still hear me. I did not know that my phone would be connected to this. All right, reverse the circles the opposite direction. And again, try as best as you can to get the full rotation of your shoulders. Good, and then release your arms. Let's bring the soles of your feet together in Baddha Konasana. Can you guys all hear me pretty okay? Okay. All right, so bring your fingertips out towards your ankles or towards the feet, anywhere where you can hang on pretty well. And then we're going to try to push the hips back and the heart forward. So we're not coming into a complete forward fold, but it's about a halfway. So I'll turn to the side so you can see the whole thing. So again, we're tilting forward, and then we're going to lean our shoulder over towards the left knee. And then we're going to round the back backwards to make this half circle. And then come on back to the center, and we're going to do it again. So forward, leaning forward where the hips are pushing backwards. And then lean out towards that left knee, same side. And then round the back backwards, so we're going about halfway. And then back to center, and then we're going to do it to the other side. So again, you're going to lean forward, but your hips are going to push back at the same time, so not a full forward fold. And then you're going to lean out towards the right shoulder, to the right knee. And then round the back backwards, so you're about half circle there. And back up to center, and then again, you're going to lean forward as your hips push back. And then lean the shoulder over towards the knee on that right side again. Round the back backwards halfway. And then back to center. All right, cross over the ankles or shift your feet to the side to come out onto hands and knees. Tabletop position. And we're going to do a bunch of those little circles again, just because the hips like a little warning. They like to know that they're about to go a little bit deeper. maybe even than they usually do. So take your time. We're going to send your right leg straight back onto the ball of the foot. Good. And then we're going to rotate to the inner arch of the foot, and then back to the ball of the foot, and then to the pinky side of the foot. And then back to the ball of the foot, out towards the inner arch of the foot, back to the ball of the foot, and then out towards the pinky side of the foot. Good. We're going to rotate all the way back to the inner arch of the foot, and then see if you can push down into the left palm and stretch the right arm skyward. Your gaze can be down, it can be forward, it can even be up. Again, we're just warming up the body. Sometimes I like to circle out the wrist. If you want to get playful here, you might also enjoy trying to lift the leg. You might enjoy like dropping it down. That's up to you. Good. Make sure that you're breathing in and breathing out. And then drop that right palm down, drop the right knee down. I'm just going to turn so you can see the other side, and I can still see you. Send the left leg straight back onto the ball of the foot. And we're going to do all that all on the other side. So you're going to shift towards the pinky side of the foot, back to the ball of the foot, to the inner arch of the foot, back to the ball of the foot, back to the pinky side of the foot, and then rotate all the way back towards the inner arch of the foot. Push down into that right palm, send the left arm skyward. Good, so what we're doing is we're testing out our stability. Sometimes we kick that bottom leg out like a kickstand, but I want you to keep it where it is if you can. This is just to isolate the movement within the hips and not anywhere else where we tend to overcompensate. You might like rotating the wrist or maybe gazing down or forward or up. Still breathing. I'm not used to teaching and doing it at the same time. So if I get a little out of breath, you might notice that. And I'm a big talker. So bring the ball of the hand back down and the knee down. And let's take a child's pose. So your knees out as wide as the mat and your big toes together. Push your hips back towards your heels. And then walk your arms forward to bow your head. And see if you can focus on your heart melting downward. So as the heart melts downward, see if you can press the hips back, almost like you can feel a slight rounding in just the lower back. And then check in with how you're breathing. So that as you're breathing in, again, you're creating all that space physically in your lungs, mentally in between you and any sort of conflict. And as you breathe out, you can feel the weight of your hips trying to accept the support of the earth. All right, lifting yourself back up to hands and knees. And then we'll take that right leg straight back onto the ball of the foot again. This time you're gonna bend into the knee and you're gonna try to lift the heel as high as you can without the hip lifting. So it's just the heel lifting as high as you can. Good, and then just like we did on the ankle, you're gonna rotate the knee up and the ball of the foot back. And then back to center, and you're gonna shift the other direction. So you're gonna try to drop the hip, and you're gonna send that pinky side of the foot towards the other side. And then back to center, and one more time, lifting the knee and dropping the ball of the foot back. And then bringing the knee back and letting the pinky side of the foot drop as the hip drops forward. Good, and then back to center. All right, this time you're gonna bring that knee up, and so the hip is going to lift, and you're gonna place the foot back behind you. Lift the right arm up high to the sky. Good, loosen up your jaw. Maybe even practice smiling. And then bring the hand back down, drop the knee. And we're gonna go the other side. I'm just turning around so you can see me and I can see you. All right, so left leg straight back, bend into the knee. And as you bend into the knee, try to lift the ball of the foot as high as you can. Good. And then from here, again, we're gonna try to rotate so that the knee is lifting more than just the hip. The knee is lifting and the ball of the foot is pushing back. Good, back to center. And then you're gonna drop that pinky side of the foot out towards that left side as the hip starts to drop down. There you go. And then back up to center. And then one more time, back through the ball of the foot, knee lifting and going forward. Good. Back to center. Dropping the pinky side of the foot forward. There you go. Back to center. And then again, this time we're going to try to lift the hip up and send the ball of the foot back behind you. Stretch the left arm skyward. Like a half of a rock star, we call it. Loosen up your jaw again. Maybe even loosen up your tongue. Sometimes I like spitting it out. Okay, bring the palm down, drop the knee. This time we're going to take a child's pose with the knees together, big toes together, press your hips backwards. Walk your arms forward, relax your head towards the earth. It's okay if it doesn't get there. Good. And again, come back to breathing in deep, full breaths. Feel your rib cages expand. Notice what happens in your shoulders and your hips when you breathe in deeply. And as you exhale, feel that weight in your hips giving into the support of the earth below you. Letting it cradle you for a few more moments. All right, lifting yourself to hands and knees. We'll start to pick up the pace a little bit here. Now that we've got our hips a little warning, you're gonna plant your palms out in front of you, curl your toes, and send your hips up and back for downward facing dog. Think about lifting your hips as high as you can and pressing them backwards. You can keep your knees bent if you want to. You can also press your heels back. That's up to you. We're focusing on the lift of the hips up and out of the hands. And then we'll inhale to take your right leg high. And as you exhale, go ahead and step your foot up in between your hands. And it's okay if you have to reach back and pull it up or stand up and realign, whatever you need to do to get there. And then fingertips to either side of the foot. See if you can bend deep into your front right knee and at the same time push back through the heel of the left foot. Crown of the head moves forward. Loosen up your tongue. Maybe even wiggle your nose a bit like a rabbit. Good. We're going to take 3 more breaths here. And then we're going to drop your back left knee. So take your time with it. I said 3 breaths. Your 3 breaths might have been fast or slow. But as you drop that knee on the left side, relax the top of the foot down to the ground. And then heel toe your right foot over towards the right side of the mat. And as you do so, bring your hands to the inside of the foot and reach the crown of the head straight forward towards the front of your mat. Keep your right knee bending and try pushing the ball of that right foot down to the ground. That's going to hug a little bit more of your right inner thigh in towards the midline. If this is good for you, you can stay breathing. Or if you want to try a bit of a challenge, you can draw your lower belly in and see if you can scissor your inner thighs like they wanted to squeeze towards one another, even though nothing else is going to move. It's a little less of a movement and more of an action. You'll know you're doing it right if your jaw starts to clench and you get really irritated. Which means you could be in the very first position. All right, heel toe your foot back and towards the midline, and you're gonna curl your back left toes, lift the knee, spin your heel down to the ground, and we're gonna walk out into a wide-legged forward fold. Feel free to bend both knees 1 at a time or 2 at a time. I'm gonna lift my head because I don't think you're gonna be able to hear me if I drop it all the way down, but you can relax your head down if you want to, even shake it out like you're saying no or yes. Okay, walk your fingertips over to the left big toe. Spin your left toes towards what used to be the back of your mat, and now it's going to be the front. It's okay if you're turning away. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So rotate to the ball of that back right foot. Keep the knee lifted for the first few moments here. You want to bend your left knee generously and push that right heel backwards. Crown of the head is moving straight forward. You're breathing, nice deep breaths. We were talking about breathing space because often when we're working with our hips, we tend to notice some irritations that come up in our body or in our minds. And that's where we use that tool of space. The breath is like space. Go ahead and drop your back right knee down to the ground. Relax the top of the foot down. And then heel toe your left foot over towards the left side of your mat until both hands can come to the inside of the foot. Good. Now from here, again, you want a nice long spine. And you want to push down into the ball of that left foot. Nice deep full breaths here. You might even want to practice grinning, or sometimes I like practicing crying too. Good. Now this might be where you stay, or if you find that you want a bit more of a challenge, you might explore drawing the lower belly up and in, and then scissoring those inner thighs, so squeezing them towards one another. So that left inner thigh wanted to hug the right inner thigh and the right to the left. Again, it's a little bit more of an action than a movement. Good. Now heel toe that left foot back in line with the left hip. Curl your back right toes. Lift the right knee. Spin the heel down to the ground and come on out into that wide-legged forward fold again. Now you might want to bend one knee and then the other, or you might want to bend both knees. You might even want to explore different arm variations, so you can plant your palms down, relax the head. You might want to reach out for big toes, or some people like interlacing the fingers over the head. Wherever you decide to be, see if you can loosen up your eyes, around your eyes. You might even want to open your eyes really wide and then maybe squeeze them shut a couple of times. Good. Walk your fingertips over to the right big toe. Spin your right toes towards the front of your mat again. Rotate onto the ball of the back left foot. Plant your palms. Step back to your downward facing dog. Notice from side to side how it feels in your body. Push down through your palms. Lift your hips up high. And then as you inhale, move your chest forward into your plank. And then exhale back into your downward facing dog. Inhale, move your chest forward into your plank. Exhale back into your downward facing dog. Inhale, move your chest forward into your plank. And then exhale, see if you can lower towards chaturanga. And then back up to your plank. And all the way back to downward facing dog. Inhale, your left leg lifts. And as you exhale, step your foot up in between your hands. Good. Spin your back right heel down to the ground so pinky side's parallel. Windmill your arms up into warrior two. I'm gonna move around so you can see me. Okay, so in warrior two, what I want you to think about is letting that left inner thigh roll forward towards the front of your mat. And as you do so, your knee's gonna bend pretty generously. Let from your belly button up, face straight forward, and then open up your arm span as wide as you can. Good, keep all of that. Bend your left elbow and rest it onto your left knee. Stretch the right arm skyward. Think about pressing that left thigh or the left inner thigh forward towards the front of your mat with the elbow. So the more you press this direction, the more your chest is going to open, the more your hips are going to open, or at least that sensation, right? Good. Notice how you're breathing. Inhale lifts you back up to warrior two, and then straightening into leg, not by blowing through the back of the knee, but by lifting that left hip, so you can feel a little hip tilt here. Lifting the left hip and pulling it back. And then reach as far forward as you can with the left fingertips. Pulling the sides of the body long, and then dangle the left arm down, stretch the right arm skyward, triangle. Now see if you can leave the arms where they are, but bend generously into the left knee. So now we're in a deeper version of side angle. Good. Now keep your arms where they are, but lift the left hip up and pull it back into your triangle. Good, very nice. Bring the right fingertips down to meet the left fingertips. Rotate back onto the ball of that back right foot. And then plant your palms, step back to your plank. Slowly lowering down. And then inhale to come up into your cobra, or maybe for some of you upward facing dog, that's up to you. And exhale back into downward dog. And again, inhale, move your chest forward into your plank. Slowly lowering down. Inhale, coming up into your cobra, or maybe for some of you upward facing dog, that's up to you. And exhale back to downward dog. All right, inhale to lift your right leg high, and exhale, step your foot up in between your hands. Spin your back left heel down to the ground, so pinky sides parallel. Windmill up into warrior two. And then we do it all on the other side. So again, take your time to bend your right knee as generously as you can, so you can feel right inner thigh is wanting to pull forward towards the front of the room, or where your front of your mat would be. Good, and then from your belly button up to the crown of the head is facing in the direction of probably the camera for most of you. Oh, except you, Dad. You would be the other side, left. Good, keep breathing. And then from here, bring your right elbow down to your right knee and stretch the left arm skyward. Good. Think of this elbow not just resting now, but enabling that inner thigh to hug forward by pressing slightly into it. Letting your chest expand even more. Okay, loosen up your face a bit. It sometimes get tense when we get in here, especially around our quads. Come on back to your warrior two, and then lift that right hip up and pull it back. Good, so again, you should feel a little bit of a tilt there. And then reach the right fingertips as far forward as you can, pull the sides of the body long, and then dangle the right arm down, stretch the left arm skyward. Triangle pose. Bring as much space in as you can, breathing in fully. And feeling the support of the earth underneath your feet and your fingertips. Good, leave the right fingertips where they are, but bend your right knee as generously as you can. So now we're in a deeper sensation here through the hip as you come into this version of side angle. Nice, you're doing a good job, every one of you. All right, bring the left fingertips down so that they're down onto the ground, and then rotate back onto the ball of that back left foot. Plant your palms, step back to your plank. Slowly lower down. Inhale, coming up into your belly down back bend, whatever that is for you. And then exhale back to downward dog. Inhale, move your chest forward into your plank. Slowly lower down. Inhale, coming up into your belly down back bend. And exhale back to downward dog. Good. Spread open your hands. Lift your hips as high as you can. Press them back. All right, inhale, left leg lifts. And exhale, step your foot up in between your hands. Bring your right toes to meet the left toes, forward folding. And then inhale an Ardha Uttanasana, so a half lift. Pulling your heart forward as well as the crown of the head. Feeling as best as you can that sensation of your inner thighs rolling back. And then exhale, forward fold again. Inhale, rise all the way up to standing. And exhale, palms together into heart center. Okay. Melissa, if it's okay, we can turn our volume on now because I think some people do want Jim White to read them on. We're going to take our wall space here. I'm just going to turn my heat down a little bit. 1 second. Sorry. Okay. All right, so take the short end of your mat to any wall space. Hopefully you can still hear me. Can everybody hear me here? Okay. Actually, I'm thinking maybe I'm going to turn this because you might need to see the side. Just technical glitches, I guess. We'll turn this. You're going to have to see my TV, but that's fine. Melissa said it's character. All right. Okay, so if you've never done this pose before, or if you're not quite sure where I'm going, King Arthur pose is one of my favorites to get into our hips, mostly because our hips are not just the hip bones. Our hips consist of the entire hip region, which is your core, it's your upper thighs, especially your quads, it's your hamstrings, your glutes, it's even some of your, I would say a bunch of your obliques, but some of your lower back, and a ton of your chest. And most of yoga philosophy talks about stress starting from our shoulders. Really, what's on top of our shoulders, our head, right? Like our racing thoughts, anxiety, any story that we say in our mind, and it works its way down onto our shoulders. So for example, if you've ever been in a car and somebody cut you off, like instantly your shoulders go up and you're like, and probably the story you're telling in your mind is, what a jerk, or whatever your story is, right? And so when we don't release that tension, it goes down and that moves its way into our heart, kind of blocks us from compassion for others, right? But it starts to move its way down into our digestive system and eventually it settles into our hips. So sitting for long periods of time in our career too, but that's like all the stories that we tell about the stress work its way down into our hips. So when we work on poses like King Arthur in this series I'm about to show you, I always joke, and I'm so glad my dad's here because I've been joking for like 13 years about him saying this is the angriest pose in yoga. And he's probably on mute, so he can't agree, but he'll be shaking his head. All right, so King Arthur's pose, I'm going to start with the very lowest end of it, and then we're going to work our way into it because just like I was saying, our hips like warning. They like to have a little bit of like a scaffolding effect of building up in the intensity of it. Okay, any questions so far? Hopefully you could all hear that. Like I said, I'm a big talker, so. Let's go ahead and bring our hands and knees up to the wall so that our feet are touching the wall. And then what you're going to do, we're going to start on the right side. So you're going to bend into your right knee and bring the knee all the way up against the wall space or whatever space you've got there. Again, it doesn't need to be very big, just about a foot or two. And then you're going to slide the knee down so that the knee is touching the floor and the wall at the same time. If you've got flat feet, it might irritate this a bit, so if you wanted to curl the toes or even take the knee a little farther away, that's okay. All right, so leave the right knee up against the wall and up against the floor, and then you're going to slide the left knee as far forward as you can bring it. You might even want to adjust a little bit with the hands. Good. Once you're there, keep pressing the right knee backwards towards the wall and down towards the floor. So you might start to feel a sensation in the quads or the thighs pressing up against the floor, or at least trying to. So sometimes when we get irritable like this, you might notice tension, and it might not be quite here yet. We'll take our time. And you might notice that your hips are possibly lifting one side or the other. It's okay. We're not aiming for symmetry here. So notice it and then see if it feels comfortable to lean one direction or the other. There's no wrong way here. So if you're leaning one way completely, it's okay. Like for example, if you were leaning way into the hip on the right side or way into the hip on the left, it's just information. It's not right or wrong. Okay, as we stay here and we breathe, because this is the first part of just warning our hips what's happening, you might dump into other sections of the body. Like for example, your hands and your wrists. I'm already seeing people like fidget a little bit, right? So if you're noticing that happening, walking a little bit over to the right is going to ease your wrists, and walking over to the left is going to make it a little bit harder. Lifting up through the core is going to make everything easier, but I already said this is pretty complex and we're working through tension, so if you let that go, oh well. Good, make sure that you're breathing, nice deep full breaths. We'll take about 2 more. Good. And then in order to come out of it, you're going to push down to the fingertips and you're going to slide the right knee to meet the left. And you can either stand up on your knees or you can sit down on your heels. That's up to you. Close your eyes, take a couple of breaths just to notice how your heat rises, because that's what happens. When we work through the hips, especially the quads, because they're the loudest muscle in our body, they tend to scream upwards, and it can feel very euphoric and relaxing, or it can feel very stressful. And either way, I invite you to breathe through it and notice it. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, let's go to the other side then. All right, so your left knee is going to lift up this time, up against the wall, and then you're going to slide the knee down. Remember that the left knee is pressing up against the wall and down to the floor. Good, once you've got that position, and again, it's okay if you have to lean a little farther forward or pull the knee a little farther forward. You're going to slide the right knee as far forward as you can. Good, and then notice the difference between this side and the last side, because remember, it's okay if you're leaning or overcompensating from the left hip or to the right hip. It's just information again. You're just noticing and being aware of. Maybe your body's not super symmetrical. Guess what? Nobody's is. Pretty much nobody's is. So it's okay. Just take it as information, like this hip is tighter, this hip is a little looser, or maybe I'm a little gentler on this side, or maybe I'm a little bit more intense. Okay, notice your wrists and any part of your body that you tend to be dumping down into, like you could be leaning the chest really far forward, or maybe your shoulders are grunting some of that weight. Is there any way that you can maybe walk over towards the left to relieve it, or walk over to the right to make it more intense? Or maybe you need to come out on fists, or maybe lift up through the core a bit more and notice if that can catch you there. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. We're having patience as we move through this. If you want to, you can practice smiling. I sometimes like doing awkward laughs. It can get really intense when you work with the hips, and sometimes having a good sense of humor about how irritable it really can get. It's okay. All right, about 3 more breaths. Hang in there. This is the first step. We're going to go a little bit deeper in a moment. Good. All right, in order to come out of it, again, push down to the fingertips, pull the left knee to meet the right, and then you can stand up on your knees or you can sit back on your heels. That's up to you. I also sometimes like to take the opportunity to shrug my shoulders or loosen up my jaw, maybe open up your mouth and roll it around a bit. You might also enjoy closing your eyes for a few moments and just noticing that wave of heat that rises up. Okay, all right, we're gonna go back to that first side. We're gonna make it a little bit more intense. So with your feet up against the wall, you're gonna bring your right knee up again. You're gonna slide it down so that the right knee is touching the wall as well as the floor. You're gonna slide your left knee forward. And then while you slide your left knee forward, you're gonna take it out, just like you did when you had your foot out wide. You're gonna slide the knee so that it's in line with the outer edge of the mat on that left side. And then look back at your toes and see if you can line up the toes with the knee straight back. There you go, good job, you guys. All right, so this time, again, you can stay upright, and this can encourage a bit of a back bend, just like, I shouldn't say a bit, it's quite a big back bend if you lift up through the chest, or you can come down to the forearms. You might need a little bit of a break. It might feel good, it might not, so experiment with how you're going. I'm gonna stay upright just so that I can see everybody. Wherever you decide to be, keep that right knee pressing back into the wall and the top of the thigh pressing down into the floor as best as you can, so that that back right leg is pretty active here. Almost like it could make the whole rest of the body float if it were to push down deep enough into that support. You might like lifting and lowering your eyebrows a few times. Coming back to that intention that you set. And breathing big, full breaths in, slow breaths out. Okay, 2 more breaths here, and then we're gonna make it a little harder. Now you might be saying, this is hard enough, I'm good, and that's okay, then you stay where you are. If you want to try a bit more, you're gonna walk your fingertips over to the right, and you're gonna start to push down into them to lift the left foot and place it down onto the ground so that you're in this wide lunge. I'll move my hand so you can see where my foot is. And if you couldn't get it quite yet, you can always reach back and pull it up. Good. Now lean forward to the hips. So you might be able to see my hips leaning forward, right? It's gonna look like a downward movement, but it definitely feels forward. And as you do so, press that right knee back and down. It's okay if you need to take a break. Go for it. This is hard. This is why I joke that my dad says it's the hardest pose in yoga. At least the most angry one, right? Take a break when you need to. Loosen up your face. Breathe deep, full breaths. Think about the inhale bringing space in between you and the tension in your body right now. Good. You're going to push back into your fingertips to lift the knee back up to drop the foot down, and then you're going to bring the right knee to meet the left. You can sit on your knees or you can sit back on your heels. You might like shrugging your shoulders. I sometimes like coming back to that fingertips on the shoulders and bringing those big circles because that gives a bigger rotation than just a shrug. Nice deep full breaths. And then we're going to go to the other side. Okay. So left knee is going to lift. You're going to drop the knee down so that the knee is down on the ground, but also pressing up against the wall. You're going to slide the right knee forward. And then from here, you're going to take the knee forward and out towards the outer edge of the mat. Oh, sorry if you hear my kid screaming in the background. He knows it's angry too. All right, and then from here, remember that you want to line your toes up with your knees. So they're not pointing back towards the hips, but straight back towards the back of the mat. And then again, you can be very upright to find that back bend, or you can come on down to your forearms. It depends definitely on a couple of different factors. 1 is your hips, 2 is your shoulders and your wrists, and 3, your state of mind. Where are you today? It is Friday evening. Are you interested in finding some release? Are you interested in finding some activation? Sometimes both. Wherever you decide to be, I'm going to come up right just so I can see everybody. Make sure that that back left knee is pressing back into the wall and the thigh is pressing down into the floor. So you can feel that back left leg is super active. Almost so active that as it presses down, you can feel that the rest of the body could feel a little elevated, even though it's clearly not going to come off the ground. Loosen your jaw. Maybe even a soft half smile if you can remember your intention or why you wanted to come here today. Good, come on back up to your fingertips and see if you can push down into the fingertips here. And I sometimes like to walk a little bit over to the left in order to do so. And you're gonna start to pick up the knee to place the foot down onto the ground. Good, and it's okay if you reach back and pull it up. We're in that wide lunge again. See if you can feel that tilt forward as the hips pull forward. Again, visually it's gonna look like my hips are pulling down, but the sensation is forward, even though the knee is still pulling back and down. Within the hip region, there's tons of connecting muscles. So for example, like your psoas, from the top of the hip out to the inner groin, all the way down into the thigh. And that's what helps us to feel like what we say open hips, right? It's that front of our hips that allows that space to feel far less tension, but also a better rotation through our legs. It's okay to take breaks when you need to also. Good job, you guys. All right, when you're ready, we're gonna slowly pick up the knee, pick up the foot to drop the knee back down, and then bring the left foot, or the left knee to bring the right knee. Again, you can take any of those variations again. You can close your eyes, you can loosen your wrists. Just take a few moments to settle into that warmth that rises again before we take it a little bit deeper. Okay, if at any point you want to go back to any of those positions and explore what they felt like, you can stay there for sure. If you want to try to explore going a little bit deeper, again, it's just an option. If it's right for your body, take it. And if it's not, just work on what we were just working on, because again, the second time around, it does feel a little bit, I'm not going to say easier necessarily, but stronger for sure. All right, so back onto your hands and knees. Your right knee's going to lift. You're going to drop the knee down so that it's up against the wall as well as the floor. You're going to slide your left knee forward, and then you're going to take it out towards the left side. Again, you might want to stay here, or you're going to walk your fingertips a little bit over to the right to pick up the knee and place the foot down onto the floor. And maybe this is where you're going to stay, and that's okay. Any of those variations is right for your body, or you're going to try heel-toeing the foot so it's in line with the hip, bringing your fingertips either side. So now we're in a very low lunge, supported with this half King Arthur. All right, so this is where my body starts to tense up for sure, and my jaw starts to clench, and as soon as my jaw clenches, it's like all those nasty thoughts in my mind just race. I don't know about anybody else, but like that's when like weird feelings or anger or resentment, that's when all that stuff starts to come up. So if you notice that's you, make sure you're breathing in real deep. Bring that space. Again, that space isn't going to make it go away. It's just going to give you more perspective on it. You're welcome to stay here. If you want to try coming upward, and walk your hands up to the knee and just start to lift the upper torso. That's an option. If you want it, you take it. If you don't, you just go right back. And if you're grunting on that side, welcome, you're not alone. It's full of irritation here in the hips. And the idea is not to bring more irritation, but that through the process of letting go of it, we sometimes feel it. All right, 3 more breaths. And then fingertips come back down. You push down to the fingertips, you slide the heel back to come down into the knee, and then the right knee comes to meet the left. You can sit back on the knees, or if you want to, you can stand on the knees. Go ahead, take a couple of breaths here. Very nice. Okay, before we go to the other side, we're gonna come into a version of camel. If you already know camel and you wanna practice it, you're more than welcome to it, but otherwise, we're just gonna stand up onto the knees and bring the palms to the lower back. And as you bring the palms to the lower back, the fingertips are facing down towards the floor. And you're gonna try to hug or squeeze in the elbows towards one another. And then from here, press the hips forward, but keep the thighs nice and strong, hugging in towards one another. Lift up to the chest and just lean back into the hands. Good. All right, come on back to center and back down to hands and knees. And then we'll go to the other side. So your left knee's gonna lift, and then you're gonna slide the knee down so it's touching the wall as well as the floor. You're gonna slide your right knee forward. Good, and then you're gonna slide the knee out. You're gonna walk the hands a little bit over to the left. And you're gonna try to pick up that foot and place the knee upward. There you go, so you're in that wide lunge. Again, if you needed to stay down at any of those other positions before this, feel free to. Like I said before, I love that our bodies would be symmetrical, but they're not. So if one side goes a little farther, that's okay. And if one side wants to back off a little bit, that's okay too. Good, make sure you're still breathing. All right, we're gonna heel toe the right foot in line with the right hip. If that's where you decide to go, with fingertips to either side of the knee, and think again about pulling the hips forward. That definitely is gonna make it a little bit more intense. So loosen your jaw, smile, laugh, cry. Breathe. Take a break if you need to. It's okay to take a break. Good. You're more than welcome to stay here, or if you want to, you can try walking up to the knee, lifting up through the upper torso. You're all doing a really great job. This process is really hard, so if you notice any tension that's arising, or maybe that you're wanting to scream and get out of it, it's okay. Know that you're not alone. Even the teacher wants to. Good, keep breathing. Nice work, everyone. All right, fingertips come back down. You're gonna lift the knee to slide it down, and then bring left knee to meet right. You can sit back on the heels or stand up on your knees. Close your eyes, take some deep breaths. Feel that heat rise. All right, and then we're gonna come into that camel again. You can take the same position that we did before with the palms on the lower back, or if you want to, you can slide your hands down towards the glutes so that eventually when we come into the back bend, your fingertips are a little closer to your thighs. I'll show you from this side too. Good. From here, you're gonna press your hips forward. You're gonna squeeze your inner thighs towards one another, but that doesn't mean that your glutes are necessarily squeezing. They're definitely engaged in the party here, but they don't need to be grunting the whole way. And then lift up to the chest and see if you can hug your shoulder blades towards one another. And breathe. Good. And then slowly come on back up. All right, we got one more. You ready? Good work, you guys. Friday evening. King Arthur, again, is one of those poses that's like so angry, but when you're done, you're like, how could my thighs feel like jello? This is amazing. Okay, so you're gonna slide your right knee up against the wall and down towards the floor. If you need to take a break or you wanna skip a side, that's okay too. Oops, I got over. All right, slide your left knee forward. Slide it out towards the left side. Good, you can stay here or push down into your palms to lift the foot up into that wide lunge. There you go, nice work. And then heel toe the left foot in line with the left hip. Fingertips to either side of the knee. Good. Climb on up to that knee. You might notice that this feels different than the very first time we took it. You can stay here, or you can bring your hands to your hips and even lean the upper torso backwards. Maybe not, and that's okay. Loosen up your jaw. Have a little fun with releasing this tension. Make sure that that right knee is still pressing down and back. Good. And then let's lean forward to bring the fingertips down to the ground. We're going to come into a version of pigeon here. So you're going to heel toe your left foot over towards the right side of your mat so that your left knee can pull forward and down. Your left heel can be as far back and under as the left hip, and as far out as the right hip, as far up as the right wrist. So I'll repeat that. It can be anywhere in that half moon rotation. So you can slide the heel all the way underneath the left hip, all the way out towards the right hip, or even all the way up towards the right wrist. No matter where you decide to be, press the right knee back and down. Good. Loosen up your jaw, maybe smile, maybe even wiggle out those funny yoga faces we do sometimes. You can stay upright, or if you want to, you can come into what we call sleeping pigeon, where you come down to the forearms or relax the head. We're going to take 10 deep breaths here. So take your time. If you have to come out of the pose, please do. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, rise back up onto the fingertips, and you have a choice to either lift up through the knee to come back into that lunge, or just shift your weight to that outer left hip and then kick the right leg forward. Might look more awkward than that, but that's okay. Let's have a seated position for this moment. I'm going to face you until we go to the other side. With your legs coming forward, take your feet out about as wide as the mat. Go ahead and sit up as tall as you can. And if you want to close your eyes, you can. You can keep them open. That's up to you. And as you breathe in, think about your lungs expanding so much that it could feel like filling a hot air balloon. Lifting and rising the top of the head towards the sky. And feeling the base of your hips heavy into the support of the earth. Right, as you gently blink your eyes back open, keep all of that space. Your feet are about as wide as the mat. You're going to bend into your right knee, and you're going to see if you can bring the heel as close to the hip crease as you can. So as close as you can could be on the floor. So don't worry about what it looks like. It might not look like mine. You want to bring it as close to the hip crease as you can. And then once you're there, curl the right toes in the direction of the right knee. And then see if you can push the ball of the foot as well as the heel over towards the left side. And then just sit up nice and tall into the spine. There's a half lotus. Great, now send that right leg back out, shake it out. And then we'll go the other side. So bend into your left knee, bring your heel as close to the hip crease as you possibly can. You might notice from side to side, one of them feels maybe a little tighter or a little looser. Probably most likely the left side is just a little bit looser because we have already done pigeon on that side, but take your time with it. Once you're there, again, curl the toes of the left foot towards the left knee, and at the same time, push the ball of the foot and the heel over towards the right. Sit up nice and tall. this half lotus version. You might want to loosen up your jaw around the edges of your ears, or move your ears around. Good. And then send that leg straight forward, shake out the legs. Okay. You're going to bend into your right knee, bring the heel as close to the hip crease as you can again. Just like before, curl the toes towards the right knee and push the ball of the foot and the heel towards the right side. And then keep all of that. Now start to shift towards the pinky side of the left foot. So you can see the toes are rotating to face outward towards the left. And then you might keep looking, and as you rotated those toes, you might notice that the knee starts to point out towards the left as well. Good. You can stay here, or you can try bending into the left knee any amount, even so much as to say the heel comes underneath the knee or underneath the hip on that right side. Again, this is a version of half lotus. Sit up nice and tall through the upper spine, crown of the head lifting. Good, very nice. All right, kick that left leg out, kick the right leg out, shake it out. I'm gonna go to the other side before we go to King Arthur on that other side. Don't forget, we have that other side. Bring the heel as close to the hip crease as you can from that left side. Remember that the toes of the left foot curl towards the left knee and the heel over towards the right. Good, and then from here, try to shift to the pinky side of that left foot. And then again, you might notice that from there, the knee starts to turn on that left side. You can stay there, on that right side, or you can bend that right knee any amount, maybe even underneath it. That's up to you though. It can be all the way out there like that before. This is just another version of half lotus. Stand up nice and tall through the spine. Good work, you guys. Nice deep breath. Good. Kick that right leg out, kick the left leg out, shake them out. And then we'll come on to hands and knees again for the other side. Okay, so left knee up against the wall, slide the left knee down so it's touching the wall as well as the floor. Slide the right knee forward. Good, there you go. Open that right knee out wide to the right side. Push into the hands to lift the foot up into that wide lunge. Good work, you guys. Heel toe the right foot in line with the right hip, so fingertips either side of the knee. Good, stop wherever you need to. Fingertips climb up to the knee to lift the upper torso. Or maybe, as you shift your hips slightly forward, bring your hands to your hips and try to lift up through the upper torso, and maybe even lean slightly back. Good, loosen up your tongue, maybe even spit it out. Remember that that left knee is pressing back and down. Nice deep full breaths here. Good work, you guys. Now fingertips come forward as you lean forward, and then we're gonna find that pigeon on the other side. So you're gonna heel toe your right foot over towards the left side of the mat and slightly back so that your right knee can pull forward. So it doesn't just drop down, it pulls forward. And down. Sorry about that dinging noise. Remember that you can angle the right heel as far under as the right hip, as far out as the left hip, or as far forward as the left wrist. I'll say that again. So if you wanted to, you could angle the right the right heel as far back as the right hip, as far out as the left hip, as far forward as the left wrist. And you can stay upright if you want to, or you can come on down to your forearms, or even your head. Wherever you are, think about breathing in full space in between you and conflict, in between you and tension. That could, again, be your physical body, your hips. It could be an idea, a mindset, a heart issue. Nice deep full breaths. Good. When you're ready, you're going to rise back up onto your fingertips. And either, again, you can lift up through the knee to come back into that lunge, or you can shift your weight to that outer right hip to kick the left leg forward and to come back into that seated position. From here, you're going to roll down onto your back. I'm going to come a little closer for this point. So roll down onto your back, and we're going to come into happy baby. So when you roll down onto your back, you want to bend into your knees, and you're going to reach your arms to the insides of your knees to grab the outer edges of either your shins or the pinky sides of your feet. I can show you what that looks like. So again, your elbows are to the insides of the knees, and then you reach for that pinky edge of the foot or the shin. And just take a few moments here to feel your heels lift and your lower back press down towards the earth. Am I doing okay with volume, Melissa?
Yeah, I think if you stop sharing the computer audio sound, we might not hear the dinging, Sarah, if you get a chance when you're back at the computer.
Yeah, I will in a second. Sorry. I'll turn it
Yeah,
off.
no. Everything else sounds really good.
All right, take a few moments here, and then we're going to start to rotate by pressing one heel out and then bringing it back in, and then pressing one heel out and bringing it back in. Take your time. Let's do that 1 or 2 times on each side. And then after 1 or 2 times, we're going to do it both at the same time. Good. All right, bring your heels down to the ground. Release your arms down by your sides, and then heel toe your feet out as wide as the mat. And now bring your knees together. Good, bring your right palm to your lower belly and your left palm to your heart. And notice how you're breathing again. Feel the amount of space in your lungs. And as you exhale, see if you can feel the space underneath the left palm. And now the space underneath the right palm. Feel the weight of your back resting into the earth and feeling that support underneath you. And now switching the hands. So right hand will be to the heart and left palm to the lower belly. Go ahead and heel toe your feet together and open your knees out wide. Supta Baddha Konasana. Bring to mind again your intention, why you came to class today. And as you release tension into the support of the earth and bring some space in between you and any sort of conflict going on in your life right now, notice freedom and peace in whatever form it takes. And at this time, you can stay here as long as feels right to you, or you can move through any last movements, postures, or poses that help you settle into Shavasana. Take your time. We didn't move through a whole lot of flow, so if you find that your body's craving that, take this opportunity. You've got about 1 to 3 minutes. So if there's another posture that maybe you wanted to try, or if there's a movement that we took that you want to repeat, this might be a good time to do another version of pigeon, maybe on your back, or maybe solo without the King Arthur. Some people like back bends. Some people might enjoy as you opened up through the hips to play around with maybe going upside down, maybe taking Shavasana immediately. I'm going to turn my light down and keep an eye on you guys. No hurry at all. Take your time. Whether you're in movement or you've already found stillness, you still have plenty of time. Just consciously start to relax your scalp. I like to do that by either rubbing it or possibly lifting and lowering the eyebrows a few times. Consciously start to soften the eyes. You might want to find movement there or just settle them into the sockets. Release your cheek muscles down the sides of your face. Let go of your tongue. Find some stillness in the weight of your jaw, releasing. Surrender the weight of the head. Find peace traveling from the brain down through the throat into each and every organ. Relax the weight of your shoulders. Soften out through the arms all the way to the elbows and then the wrists. Release the hands. Let go of the fingers. Release any pressure in the chest or any particular breathing pattern. Accept how it naturally comes in and out. And feel the weight of stillness within the rib cages, settling into the support of the earth. Find stillness in the belly. And surrender the weight of the hips so that peace can travel from the brain down through the throat into each and every organ, down through the weight of the hips and the digestion, so that peace can flow down through the legs, the knees, the feet, the toes. Om Namah Shivaya. Gurave Sachitananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Om Namah Shivaya. Gurave Sachitananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase I bow to the goodness within myself, the true eternal teacher. This essence inside of me takes the form pure joy, pure awareness and bliss, always present and luminous, full of peace. This essence is my true nature, independent in its existence, full of light, and always supporting me. Keeping your eyes closed, allow very slowly your fingertips to wiggle and move. Let your thumb graze each fingertip. Let your wrists start to rotate each direction. Let your toes start to wiggle. Let your ankles start to rotate. Let your head rock from side to side. Go ahead and bring your palms together over your heart. Move them back and forth onto each other until you can feel some warmth in your palms. And then go ahead and take that warmth in your fingertips and your palms and go and wipe all along your face like you're washing your forehead, your cheeks, the bridge of your nose, your chin, your neck, your eyes. Eventually bringing your palms, the meatiest part of them, right over the eyes so that you can feel within this darkness there's light in your intention, in your breath, in your practice. And then stretching your arms up and over your head and your toes way down to the bottom of your mat. Find any last movement here that you need to in order to roll over to your right hand side. And you can pause on your right hand side as long as you'd like to. Whenever you feel ready, take as long as you need. Push into your palms and lift yourself into a seated position, whatever that may be for you today. And again, no hurry at all. This is all at your own pace. So once you're seated, just relax the backs of the hands to the knees. So at the end of our practice, we're allowing our palms to be open and receptive to the moment. Open and receptive to the energy that exists all around us, just like our hips are hoping to be. You can keep your eyes closed or you can bring them forward and slightly down or soften around the eyes. And we'll just spend a few moments here in the peaceful coexistence of broader, more open hips, more open and receptive minds, and possibly some clarity within our chakras, the third eye. When you're ready, palms come together into heart center as you gently bow your head. The very good and the light within me, see and honor the very good and the light within each and every one of you. Namaste.